SOP number 142.
It's the School of Podcasting's morning announcements. Here's Dave Jackson.
All right, welcome aboard. Today we're going to be talking about Podcamp, Ohio, as well as making a membership site for your podcast. I went to a webinar last week, thought I'd share about that. Our website is schoolofpodcasting.com. You can reach me by email at schoolofpodcasting@gmail.com or call in your comments 888-563-3228. Everything we talk about you can find in the show notes, and that's at shownotes.schoolofpodcasting.com. So yeah, I went to Podcamp, Ohio. That's why there was no show last week. I was actually kind of preparing and packing and that whole 9 yards. And I heard somewhere where there was 200, 225, something like that, a decent number of people that were signed up. But we always know that, life happens, things like that. And I thought, you know what, if we have 70 people show up, that would be great. Well, there was way more than 70. It was standing room only. In fact, there were many times that we had to take a session and move it to a different room and still have people standing in the hallway. It was really, really successful. So kudos to everyone involved, to Kristen, to Angelo, to Greg, to just you name it. Daniel Johnson Jr. was there, and we had a great time. My session was interesting. I did a podcasting in plain English, and that went over well. And the thing is about a Podcamp, from what I understand, one of the rules is nobody is more important than another person in the room. It's supposed to be like an open discussion, and I try to do that and leave plenty of time at the end for questions, and that was good. Saw a great presentation about how to make something viral, and the fact that you can't really make something viral. There are only certain ingredients that you can add, and you kind of hope that they turn viral. But by far, the best presentation I saw was by Todd Cochran. He did one on if you're looking for advertisers, how to set up your campaign, things like that. And just some simple things like, number one, make sure your website is presentable. Make sure you have a valid RSS feed. Make sure you have an RSS feed button on there. Make sure you have a contact button and a contact page and an About Us page so that people coming to your website can learn about it. And then his one stat was interesting. He said that and again, he runs, he's from Raw Voice, which runs Blueberry. And he said, typically, looking across the board, most podcasters, your show comes out, and within 72 hours, it's pretty much done. Whoever's going to hear it has heard it. Now, granted, there are always those people a few of them that go back and listen to old shows that just found your show. He says, but really, the first couple of days in, and then you're done. But Todd had just presented the facts and was very interesting and did a nice job. And again, kind of opened it up. The thing that I did find, though, is that I guess it's my old school kind of classroom teacher in me, that if the presenter, if the person that is moderating the discussion has no material, and I had a session like that, and luckily there were people in the room that had material, so I still learned things, but I also found that if there are assertive people in a class, they can totally steer the discussion any way they want, even if it's completely off topic. So that I found kind of interesting, slightly disturbing, but the good news is, if you want to get up and walk out, you can. So that was interesting, and I did my best, and almost all the presentations I saw didn't have a lot of sales pitch-iness to them. So I didn't really talk a lot about the school of podcasting, things like that. But I did see a couple that at the end, it turned into a quick 3-minute, hey, pimp my stuff kind of thought. And I thought, well, that's kind of tacky, but you're going to have that. But in general, the great thing was, when I went to do my session, I talked to the people that were sitting there waiting for the clock to chime 10 so I could start. And I'm going to say a good 80% of those people did not have a podcast. They were literally sticking their toe in the podcast pool. And so I was very happy because obviously, being from the School of Podcasting, that's my target market. So if you're if you're somebody that just met me in Podcamp, Ohio, welcome to the morning announcements. I mentioned how the morning announcements really is a dumb name for a podcast. I had to change it to the School of Podcasting's morning announcements because, again, your podcast name is a headline. in podcast directories like iTunes and Podcast Pickle and Podcast Alley, things like that. And originally mine was just the morning announcements because isn't that cute? It fits in with the whole school theme. So always make sure your show name is something that A, doesn't need a dictionary to figure out, oh, well, we call it, Moot and Putty because that's our cat's names. Well, but the show's about NASCAR. Well, I know, but we thought it'd be cute. No. You don't want to have your name need some sort of translation. So, yeah, podcamps are definitely, I'll be definitely looking into if there are any other podcamps around. I missed Podcast Nashville, unfortunately. That was a couple months ago, but if there's any other in the area, I will definitely be going and checking them out. I'm still on the fence. There are a couple things of whether or not I'm going to the New Media Expo. Number one is finances, and number two is, if you're a regular listener, you know I'm a college student. I've gone back to get my second degree, and I'm taking summer classes, and summer classes are no fun because you take a class that's normally 16 weeks, and right now I'm taking 2 of those, and they are delivered in 8 weeks, and those are going to be done in July, I believe July 12th. And right after those are done, I start 2 more classes that will be, again, normally delivered in 16 weeks, delivered in 5. And that's going to put me right into Podcast Expo, New Media Expo, and school is going to kind of come first. And so we'll see. I'm hoping to make it, but it's definitely, the New Media Expo is definitely worthwhile. If you're near Vegas, definitely make the trip. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, and again, if we go to the whole, hey, I don't want to make this a sales pitch, but it really is kind of a sales pitch. I went to a webinar last week that Paul Culligan held, and Paul Culligan is the man behind Premium Cast, and you can find a link to that out in the show notes. And when it first came out, Premium Cast was a way for you to sell your podcast, because what happens is you upload your media, and Premium Cast makes an RSS feed for that person, that person, that person, and that person. So if the fourth person decides to cancel their subscription, you can just turn off the RSS feed for that person. Everybody gets their own singular RSS feed. So it takes podcasting from a one-to-many and turns it into one-to-one podcasting. That's why if you go to my domain name, 121, as in the number 1, the number 2, the number 1, podcasting.com, it'll take you right there. And he's added so many things there. It does more really than just podcasting now. You can sell digital products. That was something that I think was around from day one, but now they've got things where you can have like coupons, you can have fire sales, you can do a whole lot of things with the price of your digital product. So for instance, you could say, hey, I'm selling an ebook. It's $5 for the first 100 people. It's $7 for the next 100 people. It's $9, things like that. Or it's only going to be for X amount of days. You can throw sales. A lot of interesting things in the digital. So if you're using things like ClickBank and, pay.com or things like that to sell a digital product, you can do that with Premium Cast. And one of the things they now have added is the ability to create a membership site. And so there are people now that have taken the model of I have my free podcast, and then if you want additional, podcasts from me, you can sell them, but you can also have like a membership area where people could download other material. But here's the great thing. Usually membership sites are either a place where you log in and get the information, or it's, you can sign up here and it's a paid subscription. Premium Cast does both. You can actually have people sign into your membership site and subscribe to the content and never have to come back again. And you can do either or of those. If you just want to have it be a place where they have to log in to get the information, you can do that. If you want to have it to where they sign up for a Premium Cast and then the content goes that way, you can do that, or you can do both. Now, comparing these to something of a more traditional membership site, like in my case, I use a member for the School of Podcasting, and there's other products like Easy Member Pro. Those are one-time fees that you host on your website, where Premium Cast is, you have to have the viral account, which is $67 a month. But keep in mind that if you have members that are paying, depending on what you're charging for your membership, that $67 a month may not be a big deal if you have enough people sign up. And that's kind of the whole key of having a membership site. And where the other systems that I mentioned really haven't had any updates in a long time, Premium Cast is continually evolving almost on a monthly basis. Every time I log in, something is new and improved over there. But the great thing was, I watched this and realized Paul is talking. He's explaining what he's clicking on and things like that. And he actually there was some sort of weird glitch with Firefox that day. It had nothing to do with Premium Cast. It had something to do with Paul was using an old computer. And even explaining it, even with a glitch, he had a membership site up in about 15-20 minutes. So I went back and just tried to make a fake membership site, and I think I clocked in around 5 minutes. So it's really, really super easy. So if you're thinking about doing a membership site, it's definitely worth a sniff. It's a very cool product, very easy to use, and very flexible in the fact that you can do a membership site or a Premium Cast, or you can do both with that tool. Now the question is, when do I have a membership site? Well, it depends on how you want to do it. If you're setting up a business model and you've got the premium content, you can start from day one and just mention it in every show. Or you can do the route of Tim Henson of the Distorted View, or Dan Class now has the thing where they have the free member area, the free content. Or if you want the bonus content, go to Premium Cast. I'm not sure what Tim is using. Tim has a thing where it's $5 a month or $50 a year. So that's what he's doing. I think Dan is charging around $4 or $5, something like that. So it's something where you're going to need some volume. And that's where, if you think about it, when you talk about surveys, at least, that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, 10% is a good survey. So if you have 1,000 people downloading your show every week and you throw up a membership site, you might get 100 people, 50 people. Don't expect all 1,000 to go, but that again is going to depend on you, how you've built your community, how faithful your listeners are, how strong a bond you have for those people. But it's definitely a cool tool if it's something you're looking into. I know I have people, it's really coming up to me, I'd say about every 10 days, somebody saying, I want to have a membership site. And I'm like, well, do you have a podcast? And now I'm definitely pointing them towards Premium Cast if they have a podcast, because you can kind of combine the two, especially if they have a strong following. So that's going to do it for this edition. We're going to have some audio from Podcamp, Ohio in the next podcast. I've recorded some last 5 and 5s, which of course are what were the last 5 podcasts you listened to, and try to explain those in the last 5 in 5 minutes or less, excuse me. And if you know the domain name so people can find those podcasts, that's always beneficial as well. You can call those in on the toll-free call-in line, courtesy of podcast voicemail. It's 888-563-3228, or if you want to email it to me, it's, again, schoolofpodcasting@gmail.com, our website, if you'd like to start a podcast. Where we have our tutorials, we have our weekly roundtables. It's a great mix of podcasting resources without breaking the bank over at schoolofpodcasting.com. And, of course, everything I just mentioned is in our show notes at shownotes.schoolofpodcasting.com. Thanks for tuning in, and until we meet again, class dismissed.